The following is a presentation of Team Glory Sports.
It's 9:05 at 97.5 Glory FM, and welcome once again to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.5 Glory FM. Mike Wofford with you here on this Saturday morning as we bring you the latest in local sports on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We got a great show in store for you this morning. We'll kick things off this morning talking about high school basketball action from last night. We'll also talk college, pro, and sports action throughout the morning here on 97.5 Glory FM with a live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports. We're still working on some audio problems that we had. Hopefully those are corrected. You'll get a chance to hear me this Saturday morning here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on YouTube at Team Glory Sports as we bring you the very best in local sports coverage here on 97.5 Glory FM and online at WGTJRadio.com. And we're streaming on the TuneIn Radio app, the Simple Radio app, and the Radio Garden app. At home in your Amazon Echo, say play 97.5 Glory FM. And with that live video stream on YouTube at Team Glory Sports. So start to kick things off this morning, tip things off with high school basketball action from last night. We're down to the final 2 weeks of the regular season as the regular season ends on February the 7th, which is just 2 weeks away as we get ready for the upcoming region and state basketball playoffs. Here on 97.5 Glory FM, last night we brought you exclusive coverage of the games between Pickens and North Hall in Region 6 AAA play. The Dragonettes are the number one team in the state in Class AAA, and the boys one of the top teams, undefeated, now 20-0 on the season, as it in the girls game came down to the final second of play and a dramatic finish as it was the Dragonettes holding off North Hall for a 42-39 victory, handing North Hall that loss last night. Then in the boys ball game, it was like watching a college basketball team play a really weak team. But I tell you, North Hall is a very good basketball team, but Pickens is one of the elite teams in Class AAA. Be interested to see who they'll play in the first few rounds of the state playoffs, how far they go, as they hit 15 three-pointers last night, and they defeat North Hall 85-43, and a big one for the Dragons, who improved again to 20-0, 10-0 in Region 6 AAA play. In that region from last night, it was Dawson County taking on Lumpkin County from the Lincoln Trail Gym up in Lanier, and it was the Lady Tigers winning the opening game 56-37. Then in the nightcap of the doubleheader, it was the boys from Lumpkin winning by a score of 75-45, the score in that ball game from last night. You'll hear from Coach Chris Faulkner in just a few minutes here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. Also from last night, another action around the area in that same region. That was White County celebrating their senior night last night, and both the girls and boys had a big win over Johnson from last night. Also in that same region, it was Chestatee on the road down in Norcross, and the Lady War Eagles win their game. Peyton Cable had a career-high 28 points, leading the ladies from Chestatee to the second win this season over the Lady Spartans of GAC, winning that one 50-37. In the nightcap of the doubleheader, it was GAC a winner over Chestatee. We turn to Region 8 AAA play from last night. We have a three-way tie right now on the boys' side for first place with Jefferson, East Hall, and Cherokee Bluff. The Bears losing that exciting double overtime game to Jefferson last week. And with that, they're tied with the Dragons and with the Vikings for first place in Region 8 AAA after East Hall had already beaten the Dragons by a point in a game they had had a couple of weeks ago. So from last night, it was Jefferson defeating West Hall in both the girls and the boys ball games over at the arena in Jefferson. In fact, they played that with West Hall last night, I should say. They played that with West Hall. East Hall goes on the road to Watkinsville, and they took on Oconee County last night. Girls fall to the Lady Warriors, but then the boys from East Hall come up with that region win to stay in first place in the region. And also it was Cherokee Bluff winning their their games against Monroe area. Both the boys and girls win their games from last night. So, again, a three-way tie for first place on the boys' side. And the girls, it's really getting interesting to see how the top two teams are going to be in that region, because the top two teams get a first-round bye in the upcoming state playoffs, and they automatically advance on to the state playoffs. So if you finish 1 or 2 in Region 8 AAA, you automatically advance on to the first round of the high school basketball state playoffs this year. Turning to other games around the area, it was Gainesville winning their doubleheader against Lanier last night, with both the girls and boys winning their games against the Longhorns in Region 7 Quinte play. Also from last night, it was Flying Branch falling in their region doubleheader to North Oconee, losing over in Bogart last night, and that doubleheader with the Titans winning both games against the Falcons from last night in Region 8 Quad A play. East Forsyth had the evening off last night in that region, and there was non-region play last night for Buford. Interesting, as they played Rabun Gap last night, and both the girls and boys from Buford, they defeated Rabun Gap from last night. Interesting game today, as Buford will go up against North Forsyth, and in girls play, that winning streak continues for the Lady Raiders of Forsyth County. North Forsyth, they have not lost a game in a couple of years during the regular season, and they're 20-0 so far in the regular season. We're coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM. We'll talk to our first guest this morning. I'll be talking with Chris Faulkner, the boys basketball coach at Lumpkin County. It comes up next here on 97.5 Glory FM. And I hope it comes up next, so stay tuned. I hope it comes up next here on 97.5.
For more than 40 years, Conditioned Air Systems has been North Georgia's solution for residential HVAC installation, maintenance, and repair. Family owned and operated, we deliver the highest quality service on any brand and model with no hidden fees, promising 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Comfort you can feel, quality you can trust. Visit conditionedairsystems.com to schedule an appointment.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Buford, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings. And one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/black-and-blue.
The experts are saying that it's going to be another tough year for the flu. Last year it started in October and lasted until May. It's never too early to get your flu shot, and you can stop by Riverside Pharmacy and get yours today. The pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy can not only give you your flu shot, but if you get the flu, they can fill your prescription. They'll even deliver them in the Gainesville area. You can depend on Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
And back with the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM, a live video stream on YouTube at Teen Glory Sports. Let's go to the phones now. My first guest joining us this morning, Coach Chris Faulkner of Lumpkin County, joining us this morning. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Mike. Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate it much. Thanks for joining me this morning. I know it's early morning for you. A lot of you coaches have a little sleep late on Saturday mornings, don't you?
Well, sleeping late went out the window for me years ago when we had kids, so don't get to do that very often.
That's a good gift from that standpoint. Everybody know about what's the update on Cal right now? I know you had the Coach Brent Key even came to Dawson, over to Lumpkin County before the game yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a really cool. He flew in on the helicopter to come see Cal yesterday, and it was really cool for Cal and really for our whole student body. You know, everybody was big buzz about him coming in, especially the helicopter landed right behind the school. So that was really neat. And, Coach Key's a great guy, just getting out, seeing all their signees, and they do a really good job with relationships with all the high schools.
We're talking with Coach Chris Faulkner of Lumpkin County. Chris, tell us a little about, from the standpoint of being a coach and being a dad, when you have someone as talented as your son that plays two sports. You're more I know right now you're interested as a coach for basketball than as a dad what he's going to be doing for college and playing football for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, well, on the football side, first of all, I'll tell you this: it's during games, it's easier to be his coach than it is to be his parent. I am more nervous watching him play football than I am coaching him in basketball. And I think a lot of that from the coaching side is you're so engaged in the game that you're not thinking about those things. But watching him play football, I sit there in the stands every Friday night, and now hopefully moving to him playing on Saturdays. And you're nervous, you want him to do well, and those kind of things. So, in a lot of ways, it's tougher to watch him play football than it is to coach him in basketball because, like I said, as a coach, you're more engaged to what your overall team's doing and those kind of things.
Tell me about how not only Cal has progressed, but also this team, because it has really matured here. Here you are in second place in this region behind that very good Pickens team we saw last night.
Yeah, we've this is year 2 for me here at Lumpkin, and obviously I knew a lot of these kids because Cal and then my older son Gus played at Lumpkin, and watching them play with these guys. The guys have really bought in, and they've done a lot of work that in skill development work in the fall and spring and those kind of things, and that, to be honest with you, is the most gratifying thing to me, is to see guys be able to improve their skills and become better players. And all the guys in the program really bought into that, and it's paying dividends for us.
So talk about those players and how they are playing right now, Chris. Last time you had that big win over Dawson County. Tell me about the other players people may not know about besides Cal.
Yeah, so, right now our second leading scorer is Landon Pierce, who's a junior. The guy's shot the ball extremely well this year. He's right a little bit under 40% from the field. And he's a guy who's worked extremely hard. We've got another junior in Jackson Pulley who's playing really well for us. And then post player, junior Kewan Gallagher, who's just a big, strong, physical guy who does a really good job. And then you've got senior TJ Gaddis and senior Walker Scott, who are playing well for us also.
So talk about, we're down the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Here's this home stretch. You got a makeup game too. Well, you don't even have that game. You played Pickens, so you all you have got 4 games left, right?
Yeah, we're kind of back to regular schedule. The past 2 weeks have really been hectic for us because you have cancellations and rescheduling and all that. You kind of get out of routine. Fortunately, we were able to get the Pickens game in this week, so we're back to 4 regular season games, and obviously if we don't have any weather, we're Tuesdays and Fridays, which gets you a little bit back in routine. But this time of year, Mike, it kind of becomes a grind for everybody. Players are a little bit tired, coaches are a little bit tired, and everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing because there's so much film. In today's digital world, it's so easy to get access to film. So it does become a grind, but then, we think a lot about how do we manage that? Do we shorten up practices, those kind of things to try to keep your guys fresh?
Well, there's not really much else you can do because you know what the other teams are going to do now, playing them the second time around. Let's say, for example, Tuesday you play at home against North Hall.
Yeah, at this point, there's no secrets to anybody, and like I said, the film, everybody has film on everybody, so you try to a little bit here and there, maybe put a different wrinkle in offensively or defensively, but, I don't think you can get in the business of changing everything because then you become, if you do too much, you become kind of average at everything, and we'd rather be pretty good at a couple of things. Well,
doesn't it come down, Chris, to matchups? Because, say, for example, Cal can be a stud against a certain team, then all of a sudden, like Pickens, and I'm sure it's a much different situation.
Yeah, matchups are huge. And Pickens, I think Pickens is, if not the best team, they're certainly in the discussion for being one of the best teams in the state of Georgia.
No doubt.
And matchups with them for us and really everybody they play is they just have they have great. I mean, there's no weaknesses. They're all really good players, but they have great length defensively, and that's what gives us a lot of problems against them, and I think other people as well. They have 2'6'7" twins that can play on the perimeter, can play in the post, and then aside from that, their other guys have good length, and that gives people a lot of trouble. But you're right. I mean, there's certain teams that you go against that you're like, well, gosh, we match up better with this group than we do this other group. So, and that, as a coach, that scares you as you get down the stretch. Like every game becomes so important, and then as you look at moving into region tournament, you're like, well, who would you rather have to match up with? And right now, I don't know. I mean, everybody. Pickens has obviously separated themselves from everybody in the region, but all the other teams, you're like, well, golly, anybody could beat anybody.
All right, so tell me about the difference. People will ask this question about the difference in coaching at North Georgia when you were there for so many years and now coaching there on the high school level in Lumpkin County.
Mike, I get asked that question a lot, and obviously there are some differences. The past couple of years has been extremely enjoyable for me. These kids here at Lumpkin, for the most part, they sell out, and in a lot of ways they're more enjoyable to coach because there's really no, at the college level, a lot of those guys, and we had good players and great kids at the college level, but they kind of think they've arrived and they've done everything. And these kids at Lumpkin are hungry and they want to work, and that's, as I said, very, very gratifying to have that. Sometimes the high school level kids can't do everything skill-wise that the college level kids could, but it's more enjoyable to me, to be honest with you.
Well, to me, the purpose of high school is different than college, too. And I'll give you this compliment. When I talked to your dad a couple weeks ago, we saw you play North Hall. He said you're having more fun than he's seen you having in a long time.
I really am. I really am. This is it's a lot of fun. Coaching my son adds to that. At times, it's challenging coaching your son, but a lot of times, and I've told a lot of people this. I hope 10, 20, 30 years from now, Cal and I can look back and say, man, those are some of the best times of our life.
So tell me the final thing, how close are you to clinching the number 2 spot in the region? The win maybe Tuesday or next Friday you'll clinch it?
No, I mean, I think it's more than that. I think we have to win out to have a chance to. Yeah, it's so we've got a split with GAC, and so I really think we would have to win out to be number 2. North Hall is kind of breathing down all our throats too, and they're good. I mean, North Hall they got a lot of kids that can score. So, yeah, it's still wide open, to be honest with you. There's not a lot of breathing room right there.
Yeah, tough region too, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I mean, you can, and for us, as I said, Pickens has kind of separated themselves. But, for us, it's one of those things that every night, if we don't come to play, we're going to be in trouble. So we have to play well for sure.
All right, Chris, man. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right, buddy. Take care. That is Coach Chris Faulkner, the head boys basketball coach at Lumpkin County. The Indians win last night 75-45 over the Dawson County Tigers. Coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM, we'll stay in Dahlonega. We'll talk with Brendan Shabat, the athletic sports specialist there, I'll call him. He is the director of communications for the University of North Georgia, and they're back in action today playing. They've got homecoming coming up in a couple of weeks, too. We'll talk about that. All that up next here on 97.5 Glory FM.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
This is Representative Lee Hawkins, your representative to the state legislature. I want to wish all the local athletes in our area the very best this season. Your team is very important to the success of our community, and I look forward to seeing you play this year and to see what you accomplish in the classrooms and in the community. I also look forward to serving you and your family in the state legislature. This message paid for by the committee to re-elect Lee Hawkins.
Thank you, North Hall. This is Chris Kinsey with Millie's Drapery and Decorating, and we would like to thank the North Hall community for their continued support. Since 1968, my family has provided the area with beautiful custom drapery, bedding, upholstery, blinds, shades, and more. If you would like some help with your interior design project, give us a call and we'll schedule one of our talented designers to give you an in-home consultation and estimate for your project. Call us at 770-532-3819.
97.5 Glory FM, your radio station from North Georgia Sports. We'll go back to the phones now. We go back to Dahlonega, and this time we talk with Brandon Shabath, the athletic department's Director of Communications. Director of Communications is his title for the University of North Georgia athletic programs, and glad to have Brandon on the air with us this morning. Hey, Brandon.
Mike, good to talk to you again.
It sure is, buddy. Talk about what's going on with the Nighthawks today.
Well, we've got a men's and women's basketball doubleheader today against Augusta. Women's basketball are off to a great start this season. They're 15-1 right now, first in the league, and chance to go to 16, obviously, today against a good Augusta team. The men are looking to rally off a tough loss against USC Beaufort last Saturday. It's been 7 days since both of these teams played because of the weather this week. They had a game on the road at Georgia Southwestern that was postponed. So it's been a while since we've had some Nighthawk basketball, so we're excited to see them back on the floor today.
All right, first thing we know, the women are back healthy this year and off to a great start with them this year.
They've been absolutely unbelievable. You know, there were kind of rumblings, at least internally, before this season started, that this team would have a chance to be one of those Buffy Burson teams that we're used to, that is competing for a national title and is one of the best teams in the country. And they've been that way to start the year. I mean, their offense has just been unbelievable. They're one of the best passing teams in the country, one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. I mean, this season has a chance to go down as UNG's highest assisting and three-point shooting season, from percentage standpoints, from per-game average standpoints, from season totals. They really play together so well. The 8 or 9 players that see the floor the most are good friends on the court and off the court. They have a lot of fun with each other. They're having a lot of fun this season. They're so unbelievably unselfish. There's 4 or 5 different players every night that you would not be surprised to see them score 20 points. And they feed the hot hand. They run the offense to get the best look possible. They don't care who scores. And because of that, of their 15 wins this year, I think we're up to like 10 or 11 double-digit wins now. And 5 or 6 of those have been by 20 or more points. They're not just winning 15 games. They're dominating opponents while doing it.
What's great, too, is that Coach Burson has those local girls on the team. You have a Caroline Martin from North Forsyth, and you have the girls of Lumpkin County. Well, that state championship team is there, and it's like they went to the next level, and you can see how those skills also went to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe, if I remember correctly, all but 1 or 2 of the women on the team are from Georgia. And obviously you've got the 3 from Dahlonega, and the big one this season has been Avery Jones, the freshman from Lumpkin County, who won a state championship with them a couple of years ago. And I remember talking to the coaching staff over the summer, and back in the summer, Caroline wasn't fully back yet, and they didn't quite know what she was going to be like. And obviously the team was still coming off a difficult year last year, and the coaches were saying that there's a chance Avery Jones is the best player on this team next year as a freshman. And obviously with the way Caroline and Emily Truschel are playing, that hasn't been the case, but Avery Jones has been right there. She had 28 points the other night against Lanier, made 7 3-pointers. I believe of the 16 games this season, she scored in double figures like 11 times. Her 28 points against Lanier were the most for a UNG freshman since Caroline Martin had like 35 points her freshman season a couple of years ago.
Remember that.
So Avery's really impressive. She's a a talented guard who is fearless. She'll do a little bit of everything. I mean, she's had a couple, I don't want to say like flirting with the triple-double games, but she had 10, 6, and 5 the other night.
Wow.
You know, she can shoot it, she can score it, and she'll pass and rebound. And to do that at the level that she is for her age and with the intensity and attitude that she has, like she's not scared of anybody out there. And she plays like an upperclassman, and that's really not something you find very often for someone her age.
We're talking with Brendan Sabat, the Director of Athletic Communications for the University of North Georgia. Tell me about the men right now. Where are we now in the conference?
So the men are 12-6 right now on the year. I believe they're 4-2 in conference play, which I believe is second place right now. The loss to USC Beaufort on Saturday was a close one by 2 points, and that's a USC Beaufort team that's surprising some people so far this year. They're 5-1 and tied for first in the league with Columbus State and USC Aiken, I believe.
That's definitely a surprise.
So it's off to a bit of a struggle this year for the Nighthawk men. Certainly not the start that they had last season. I mean, they finished last season 28-7, and they've already got 6 losses this year. But it feels like one of those years where maybe things click as the season goes on, and as long as they're playing their best basketball in March, they have the talent to do really big things. And there's a lot of returners on this team from that historic year last year, but they lost Frank Champion, they lost Greg Phillips, they lost some other key players who were some big role pieces for them. And so it's just a new team from a stylistic standpoint and from a chemistry standpoint, and that just takes some time to develop. And I think they're going through some growing pains right now, but they're working it out. Our coaching staff has been working extremely hard with these guys. And JoJo Peterson, who's a Division I transfer from Purdue Fort Wayne, who came to UNG last season, he was injured all of last year, and then suffered another injury in the preseason this year. He played his first game the other week against Lanier, and he's a player who is talented enough where if he played last year, if he never got hurt, he would have been one of the best players on the team. And that's saying something with Frank Champion on the floor. And so he's got a chance to do that this year, but it's a slow process. He had an MCL injury, a couple knee injuries, and no one's ever the same when they come back from those. And if they are, it takes a little bit of time to get there. So JoJo's a 6'5" guard who can really do a lot, high IQ, physical player. He's the modern basketball player, just a big guard who has a skill set that is beyond what his size usually offers. And at the Division II level, you really don't see a lot of players like him. He's a matchup nightmare for some opponents. So once he finds his rhythm and starts to develop a connection with some of the other guys on the floor, and they're all working together and they know how he plays and he knows how they play. I mean, he and A.J. White and Caden Charles and Colin Turner, Hunter Shenenhelm, once those guys start to click, it's a scary group to go up against. And I don't know a lot of teams in the Peach Belt who are going to be able to guard JoJo once he gets it going.
All right, final thing for you, buddy. How about get ready for softball and baseball?
Absolutely. We play baseball, if you can believe this, Mike, in 6 days at home. They've got a 4-game series against Lincoln Memorial starting Friday next week, so the 31st, and then a doubleheader on February 1st and a final home game on the 2nd. Tennis starts on February 2nd for both the men and the women. And then softball also starts down in Alabama in Gulf Shores on the 31st. They'll have their home opener on February 8th. Track and field is around the corner. Rifle is back in the swing of things, and they've got Southern Conference championships coming up. So it's that time of year where there's 7 days in a week, and if you look at the calendar, on 5 or 6 of them, there's going to be a UNG athletic event, so it's a fun time.
All right, can we talk to you next week?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll do that because we got homecoming coming up on the 15th.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun time of year. February 15th particularly is the day that's been circled on our calendars. We've got 5 home UNG athletic events that day. Baseball doubleheader, softball doubleheader, and a basketball doubleheader. So it's going to be a blast that Saturday.
Looking forward to it, buddy. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Always good to talk to you.
You too. Take care. We got much more for you coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM. You're tuned to the Saturday Morning Sports Show.
Chick-fil-A is a proud sponsor of Hall County Athletics and the great student athletes that compete on the fields, courts, tracks, and mats. Chick-fil-A was introduced into Hall County way back in 1987 at Lakeshore Mall. Throughout the years, they've been blessed to develop countless relationships with the schools here in Hall County. They're thanking everyone for their support of Chick-fil-A, which allows them to help support our schools, coaches, and student athletes. In Gainesville, you'll find Chick-fil-A on Jesse Jewell Parkway. Eat more chicken!
The landscape of North Georgia continues to change, and when you're looking to buy a home or land, you need someone who knows the real estate market. Turn to Chris McCall Realty. Chris has been serving the Hall and surrounding counties for 27 years. He specializes in residential real estate. Whether it's home, land, acreage, or farms, customer satisfaction is most important to him. Find out more today. Log online to McCallProperties.com.
97.5 Glory FM, your radio station for North Georgia sports. I got my problems corrected with my headset, so I hope you're hearing me fine this morning here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. I'd love to hear from you. You can send an email to me to mail@wgtjradio.com, mail@wgtjradio.com, or send a text message. My text line is always open at 678-928-1826. We are just a week away from a brand new program on 97.5 Glory FM. As we're going fishing, we're going to have a show called Hooked on Lanier. And joining me is the host of that show, Brandon. We've got Brandon Whitesides joining us this morning here on 97.5 Glory FM. It's getting here close, Brandon.
It most certainly is, Mike. Good morning. How you doing?
I am doing great. Glad you're with us here this morning to talk about not only the show, but also the fishing. It's still cold out there, isn't it, to go fishing?
Oh, absolutely it is, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. One thing to mention of importance is I'm the host, but we also have a co-host. Harper LaBelle, former NFL player, Falcons long snapper. He'll be running the show with me. I'm excited about that. He has lots of radio experience. Just a reminder from my call-in last week, the rationale behind this show is quite simple. There are 10 million visitors that come to Lake Lanier each year. The counties that join the lake, which is a 38,000-acre impoundment, Gwinnett, there's Hall, there's Forsyth. Between those three counties, the population is about 1.5 million people. So the economic impact that this lake has on the surrounding area, like I mentioned last week, is about $5 billion annually. And that's comprised of tourism, camping, recreational boating, fishing, back to the tourism. You have hotels and restaurants that are affiliated with that. There's real estate, there's power generation down at the dam. And so it just makes sense for us to have this show, the first of its kind, for the North Georgia area, and a show that's specific to Lake Lanier. So I'm actually excited about something. It's been a while that I've been this excited about something.
Well, it's on the air next Saturday morning at 6:05 will be the time for the show, 6:05 until 7 a.m. every Saturday morning. We'll see if we can expand it after that. So we're looking forward to talking with you and Harper and the different guests will be on the show. And you've got a full show lined up next week.
Absolutely. We have some exciting callers and content. We have DNR calling in, the main biologist for Lake Lanier. He's going to discuss stocking numbers, the rationale for the stocking numbers, and basically the overall health of the fishery. We have Marine Concepts Detailing calling in. They're going to talk about how to minimize the grime that builds up on your boat hull. Captain Clay Cunningham, who's one of the premier striper guides on the lake, he's going to be calling in to give us a very detailed striper report. And there'll be more content like that, that's relative to fishing and boating.
Yep, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to fishing, and even the novice who doesn't know about fishing is going to learn a lot by tuning into the show each week.
Absolutely. Now, you asked at the beginning of the show, kind of about the cold and the fishing.
Uh-huh.
That's the elephant in the room, Mike. This cold weather, and just like I said last week when I called in, the lake temperatures, the water temperature has in fact plummeted to the mid 40s, but oddly enough, the fish are still biting. The keys there are the fish have really honed in on the smaller baits, particularly the threadfin herring. And so, as they say, match the hatch. Whether you're presenting live bait or whether you're using lures. And these threadfin herring, they're about 1 to 2 inches long. They're easier for the fish to catch, believe it or not. They're hard to find at the bait shops. In fact, you can't find them at the bait shops because they're so delicate, I guess you could say. So if you're a striper person and you're out there fishing next week, I would use small to medium-sized shiners. Those are much more hardy. But back to the threadfin herring, you can catch those yourself with a cast net. Bass fishermen, they typically use artificial bait. They're using small flukes, small spoons, small crankbaits. So again, match the hatch. The bait you're using should mimic or be the same size as the bait that the fish are predominantly feeding on.
That's one of the big things to me is that starting the show in February is okay, how much fishing is out there in the lake, but it's a great time for someone to tune in and learn about the lake in general, and then all the different things that go in fishing to get you ready when you're going out there when it gets a little warmer and really start going after some fish.
That's right. That's right. And so there's things to do between now and then when you said it gets warmer. If you're not out there fishing now, kind of alluded to these the last couple of calls. There's rods that you need to make sure there's no busted eyes on. There are your fishing reels where now is a good time to replace the line. Make sure your hooks are not broken or dull, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, and the list goes on. That's what the content you're going to have during the show starting next week.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely. There's things that you need to be doing to your boat outboard. There's things that you need to be doing to your trailer. And those things are all going to be part of the content of this show, which hopefully will be helpful to people, listeners especially.
All right, so again, we're going to get the word out with Brandon, social media here on 97.5 Glory FM, all our digital platforms, getting ready for this. This is something brand new that has really never been done on radio and outside the metro area of Atlanta. And so we're going to have it for you here because it's all about the local lake here with Lake Lanier. And as Brandon said, the area that it serves, it is, people don't really understand how big Lake Lanier is. And there's so many different areas that you could go out and be a part of this lake.
That's correct, Mike. And I know we're getting short on time. There is one thing I forgot to mention that kind of came to mind when you were talking. Back to the fishing that I get asked a lot is how deep are you fishing? And that varies throughout the year, and it all has to do with water temperature. Water temperature dictates where the bait schools move and the predators follow the bait, like I've said. And right now, one shift that's happened, in addition to the water temperatures plummeting down into the mid-40s, is the fish have really gotten shallow. And when I say shallow, they're not out in 50, 60, 70 feet of water. The main concentration of the bait and thus the fish, the stripers and bass, are being caught in 20 to 40, maybe 50 feet of water. And the reason for that is because the shallower water in the winter, it warms up quickly. And that's why the bait moves back there, and that's why the predators follow. And it's so much easier for those fish to chase down and catch a bait in shallower water. And I mean, if you think about, Harper will appreciate this, it's much easier to tackle somebody when they're backed into a corner than it is chasing them all over a football field. And the fish keying in on these baits at the back of the creeks, towards the back of the creeks, 15, 20, 30, 40 feet of water, those are the areas you want to be focusing on this coming week.
All right, are you ready?
Yo, absolutely.
All right, let's get going to do some fishing. Hooked on Lanier, coming to 97.5 Glory FM next Saturday morning. We'll kick things off at 6:05 with Brandon Whitesides and Harper LaBelle next Saturday morning right here on 97.5 Glory FM. Have a great week. We'll see you next Saturday, okay?
Okay, Mike. Take care.
Looking forward to it. That is Brandon Whiteside, who is the host of the new show here on 97.5 Glory FM. Hooked on Lanier. It debuts next Saturday morning. Make sure you join us bright and early at 6:05, only here on 97.5 Glory FM. Coming up next, we'll talk to his partner, Harper LaBelle. We'll talk NFL football playoff action and more coming up next on 97.5 Glory FM.
If you need on-time expert plumbing service, Conditioned Air Systems is here for you. Our plumbers deliver the highest quality service in North Georgia 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We've been North Georgia's source for elite residential and commercial services since 1983. Our licensed plumbers offer services for installation and repairs of pipes, water heaters, septic lines, and sump pumps. Choose Conditioned Air Systems for quality service and unmatched knowledge for your plumbing needs.
Injuries are never planned and often happen after hours or over the weekend. That's why NGPG Orthopedic and Sports Medicine offers the Black and Blue Walk-In Clinic for injured athletes every Monday morning in their offices in Gainesville, Brazelton, Beaufort, Houston, and Jefferson. No need to call. Just walk right in between 8:30 and 11:30 on Monday mornings, and one of their sports medicine and orthopedic doctors will be there to help identify, treat, and care for your injury. To learn more, you may visit ngpg.org/blackandblue.
97.5 Glory FM, your radio station for North Georgia sports. I feel like I'm hoarse this morning, but I'm doing okay. I really am. I'm excited. I'm a grandfather now. My daughter had our first grandchild back on Wednesday, and both mother and baby are doing great. And thank you for the prayers for me, my wife Janet, and my daughter Lily, our granddaughter, and my son-in-law. It has been a busy week, but talk about busy is this man right here. He is always doing something. Joining us this morning is Brandon Whitesides' partner on the show coming up next Saturday. We're going to talk football, though, this morning rather than fishing. That is Harper LaBelle. Hey, Harper.
Well, we can talk a little football, fishing, but family as well, Mike. You don't do much right now. You just get to watch everybody else hold the baby and goggle over it. You just pay for everything. Is that right?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I thought of you. They were talking about the football hold. Is when I held my granddaughter for the first time, is that I had her head on my right elbow, and she's 18 inches long, and her toes reached almost to the end of my fingers, and I held her in one hand. They said it was like holding a football. And it's like, okay, you get that picture in your head. That's how it was, and it was really something special.
Yep. Don't fumble, though.
Exactly.
No fumbling.
So, are you ready for the conference championships?
Boy, I tell you what, Mike, college football ended with a little bit of a bang. Congratulations to Ohio State right down the road here in Atlanta. Even though Notre Dame kind of fell apart there in the second quarter, they gave everything they had, let's put it that way. But the best team money could buy ends up winning. That's that. Now we get to go watch you guys that play for money and their championship. Who would have thought that the Washington Commanders would have made it this far after picking second in the draft last year?
Nobody.
What an amazing turnaround for them, Mike.
Nobody would have ever thought Dan Quinn on top of that would be a win away from going to Super Bowl again. Never would we.
Yeah. Well, at least not this early. He's got the pedigree. Remember, the Falcons waited forever for the Seahawks to get eliminated so that they could just talk to the guy and offer him the job. And remember, they went to the Super Bowl that year, and then 2 years later, the Falcons go to the Super Bowl. It turned a little bit south here in Atlanta. I don't know what to blame for that, but obviously Dan goes to Dallas and reestablishes his prominence, if you will, and what a quick and here's the deal. Getting a quarterback, in my opinion, that can play at playoff caliber level from day one, what a great blessing to have happen to your roster. And Jaden Daniels, I remember when I saw him at Georgia State playing up there at LSU, I go, this guy's amazing.
Yes.
He's just different, and he's better. The Commanders get a hold of him, and next thing you know, their offense is clicking, defense is playing better. They win 12 games, and now they're in the NFC Championship against the Eagles.
All right. Do you see any way in the world the Eagles and Chiefs don't make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah. It's not likely. So this is more my heart than my mind. But the Eagles especially, Jalen Hurts is hurt, and he's got a bad knee. If he gets dinged up a little bit, are you going to watch Kenny Pickett do it, or Tanner McKee, or whoever the backup is going to be that's number two? Yes, it's possible. If you can slow down, instead of 185 yards, if you give up 120 to Saquon Barkley, I think you got a chance. A.J. Brown has done hardly anything in the playoffs, so I think there's reason to celebrate in Washington because I think it's possible. Obviously, you're in the game, so anything is possible. With Buffalo, I think it's going to be all mental, Mike. They've done this before. It's just a matter of, is this the right time with the right team and the combination against a very good defense that Kansas City has. Weather will be a factor. It'll be about 33 degrees. It'll be about 44, 43 in Philadelphia. So it's going to be cold, but not nearly what you would imagine in these worst scenarios. It's going to be okay. It'll be bearable.
And you got to think Kansas City playing at home, they just can't be beat, I would think.
Well, logic and basic reason and obviously history, you put them all together and says there's no way that the Kansas City should lose this game.
But
obviously, Kelsey had a big game. What do you have, 7 receptions and a touchdown last week? Welcome back to the league, my friend. You've been kind of quiet. You're not working out like you have. You got your girlfriend that is bigger than you. But in big games, you get big guys play well, and that's obviously been a tremendous part of their 7-year history of playing in championship games.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? That's one of those longest stretches that reminds you of the Patriots.
Absolutely. I've got a friend who's a Patriot fan, and he's saying the referees and the league and everybody's doing everything they can to take all the Patriot records away. But you got to win. Period. It's not easy to do in the NFL. Everybody's good, and a lot of folks are very good. They're great. So getting a chance to play against and beat some of the best, obviously, if you throw in that line, the wrestling line, to be the best, you got to beat the best.
So final thing for you. Are you really, as a fan, wishing that Detroit had beaten Washington last week?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Right? The whole year has been, could it get any better than this if you're a Lions fan? I don't know if you could, Mike. I mean, what'd you lose? Just 2 games? You play the Vikings in the last game of the year, and the winner gets the bye, and for whatever reason, they just couldn't stop Washington. And that's one of the reasons I believe that Philadelphia could be in trouble here tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, more interesting. Well, who knows? The Buffalo-Kansas City game may be interesting also. It'll be interesting to see how this thing comes out, who plays for the big trophy coming up in a couple of weeks. Yeah,
well, you have Detroit out of it, and then last week for me, I really didn't have any skin in the game, but I thought Baltimore was better.
Oh, sure.
And I thought Baltimore just, you throw their rushing attack, and I think Lamar should be the MVP. His numbers certainly are indicative of that being his honor.
Mm-hmm.
But someone had to lose, and it turns out Buffalo was just a couple points better.
Yep, and that's the thing about it. That's a great matchup between Buffalo and Baltimore. Again, we're talking about matchups. That's a great matchup.
Has been for years. And then whoever would have taken on Kansas City, that's a great matchup.
Sure.
Right? And you've got teams that are going to be good in the future. You look at Houston, you look at the L.A. Chargers, Denver, obviously. So the future looks pretty bright if you're in the AFC for a chance to at least play against Kansas City and try to knock them out.
How about hope for the Falcons here in the offseason?
They fixed their quarterback problem last year at this time. Obviously with 2 guys, Kirk Cousins and
what's his name?
when you have Michael Penix getting a chance to play at the end of the year. I'm sorry, Mike, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you like me, you're going, okay, who's the quarterback? So Michael Penix is what we're saying.
No, I knew that, but I'm just, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking there's 10 other problems that you've got.
Oh, absolutely.
You still, there's at least 10. So which finger do you want to put into the dam to help plug the leaks? So they've got to address a few of those. Obviously, coaching, they replaced their defensive coordinator. They're going to need some new bodies. They've got a cap issue. They've got a lot of guys they've got to sign or re-sign from other clubs. So it's not over by any means, but doggone, beat Tampa. That's what you got to do every year, and
yes.
We came a little bit short.
Yep, that's what you got to do. Put that on a T-shirt and sell it. You got to beat Tampa from that standpoint. All right, buddy. Have a fun weekend. We'll talk to you next time, okay?
Yeah, I'll see you next week in person. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, he'll talk fishing next week, okay? Next Saturday morning at 6:05. Have a great week, friend. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
All right, coming up next, we'll talk with Dave. Come on, wrap things up here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We got college basketball today at 4 o'clock as the Panthers are in action. They take on James Madison. We'll preview the game coming up next here on 97.5 Glory FM with the Saturday Morning Sports Show.
The experts are saying that it's going to be another tough year for the flu. Last year it started in October and lasted until May. It's never too early to get your flu shot, and you can stop by Riverside Pharmacy and get yours today. The pharmacists at Riverside Pharmacy can not only give you your flu shot, but if you get the flu, they can fill your prescription. They'll even deliver them in the Gainesville area. You can depend on Riverside Pharmacy across the street from City Park, serving Gainesville for over 60 years.
Here I am on the road again, ready to pick up the kids from school, go by the grocery store, and do all the things a busy mother does. It's because I just left North Hall Tire and Wheel, where they made sure I was ready to go. They put on a fresh set of tires, checked the brakes, and even the battery. I know I can trust Mike and Matt and the guys at North Hall Tire and Wheel. They have everything you need, all the name brand tires at the best prices, and the service you need. They're on Cleveland Highway in Gainesville, so give them a call at 770-297-5308.
Time to wrap things up here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. We go to the phones now and preview today's college basketball game as Georgia State takes on James Madison. To tell us all about it, here is Dave Cohen. Hey, David.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I am great, staying busy this morning. A lot going on this morning in sports. So, about college basketball day with the Panthers?
Well, Georgia State, a little bit streaky, recently after snapping that 7-game losing skid mid-season and then coming back and winning 3 in a row. We headed out on the road to San Marcos, Texas, lost at Texas State, went over to Jonesboro, Arkansas, lost at Arkansas State. They're one of the top 2 teams in the league. Lost a tough one to Marshall the other night at the Convocation Center. And we have the Dukes of James Madison, your 4th president, coming into the Convocation Center this afternoon. Tip-off right around 4 p.m. Eastern time. So Georgia State in need of a win before they head back out on the road, back to Huntington, West Virginia, this coming Thursday night to take on Marshall, followed by a trip to Boone to take on Appalachian State. So the road does not get easier, and, you look at the Sun Belt right now, and it's South Alabama and Arkansas State. Troy, is pretty good, but there's a lot of parity below the top 3 or 4 teams in the Sun Belt, save for the bottom 2 in Coastal Carolina and Louisiana Monroe. But those middle schools, everybody in between the top 2 or 3 and the bottom 2, it's anybody's game any night of the week.
Well, you got to win a game at home, though, David. And you finally got to win a game on the road, but more importantly, you got to win that game today if you can.
Well, no question. And, had a 1-point lead at halftime on Thursday night against Marshall. But as we have seen a number of times this year in games, Mike, Georgia State will go silent offensively for long stretches. And I think the other night it turned out to be a 14-0 run or a 16-0 run. And at that point, Marshall, builds that lead, and then they just kind of coast the remainder of the second half and hang on for the win. And, offensively for Georgia State, and the Panthers are missing a couple of key pieces for various reasons, but, the Panthers are getting offensive production from the 6'10 center Cesar Edwards, who had 21 the other night and 7 against Marshall. They got another double-double from Nick McMullen, 12 points, 12 rebounds. But it's great for those two, but somebody else offensively has got to step up and provide some offensive output. There's just not enough points on the floor over the course of the 40-minute game to play with some of these teams in the Sun Belt.
Oh, yeah, great point. You got to make shots, too. And there's a lot of times they'll miss a shot, then the team comes down and they'll drain a 3. It just seems like it just gets into an epidemic there. It's okay, it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah, and also Georgia State's three-point defense has struggled, I would say, at times more often than not, since we've gotten into Sun Belt Conference play. So three-point defense is big, but somebody, another player or two need to step up offensively to help, balance it out a little bit with what you're getting from your 2 post players. There's not a lot coming from the perimeter.
All right, I've got 1 minute. Tell me about, real quickly, excitement about football this week with some new coaches.
Well, yeah, it's that time of the year, Mike. Brand new offensive coordinator that came from Arkansas, new defensive coordinator. Oh, actually, the defensive coordinator came from Arkansas. Hugh Jackson, who was brought on to the staff last year, is kind of like a special assistant to Coach McGee, with Jim Chaney's
I believe, departure. I'm not sure if they're going to use him in some other form or fashion on the staff in the football office. But Hugh Jackson takes over as the offensive coordinator, and I believe his name is Deron Wilson, comes from Arkansas, and he is the new defensive coordinator. A number of analysts were elevated into position coaches. That was announced earlier this week. New offensive line coach that comes from the University of Louisiana Lafayette. So just like last year, Mike, that first time I perused through the football office, you're going to have to wear that name tag. Hello, my name is.
It's Dave Cohen from that standpoint. Hey, today, 4 o'clock, it is Georgia State and James Madison right here on the network as we man in the controls for you. You're on 97.5 Glory FM. Have a great day, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, we wrap things up here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.5 Glory FM. Join us next week. We got high school basketball starting on Tuesday. We got much more for you right here on 97.5 Glory FM. Coming up next,
97.5 Glory FM is WGTJ.